Welcome back, shop rats. Today we're on the 69 Charger doing nothing that I plan to do. We've got problems in the ignition system, and I have spent a long time trying to sort out what's going on. I finally have. I didn't bother filming all of that because I didn't have any idea what I was dealing with. Normally I got a pretty good idea, and so I was just going to throw a new box on it and move on, or a ballast or whatever. But, well, let's just watch the show intro. I'll see you in 30 seconds, and then we'll show you exactly what's going on. Never seen it before. I'm Mike, and this is My Car's Shop.
Working out of a 100-year-old refurbished barn, bringing 35 years of experience to projects considered beyond repair. Vision, creativity, and problem solving are essential tools in this place. Watch as we transform junk into polished metal miracles. This is My Car's Shop.
So I went to, I had taken the Charger for a ride up and down the road because it's been sitting for, a good 6-9 months, hasn't been driven. It's running great. And I pulled it in the shop here, and I was going to back it out to do some really cool camera stuff for the intro on this episode, and it wouldn't start. I thought it was out of gas, so I dumped in 4 or 5 more gallons of gas, dumped some gas down the carburetor. It still wouldn't start. The wiring in this thing is temporary right now, so I thought, maybe something had come loose, or there was a ground loose, or a blown fuse, or something like that. Well, it's none of that either. I took the ignition box off of Scoops, and I'm not a parts replacer, but I thought it can only be a couple of things. So I did that. I threw a coil in here. I tried a ballast resistor. None of that worked, so I finally broke out the meter. I mean, that took me all 5 minutes. And I broke out the meter and started testing, and everything is good. And with the ignition switch on, when I touched the negative terminal to the battery, we got great spark, but when we crank it, we got none. As I was editing this episode, I just wanted to create a segue here real quick and just share that it's another day with me in the shop, and all I was doing was sharing with you my thought processes at the time. There's going to be wrong information. There's going to be theories, and I'm not even sure they're theories at that point. There's things that I'm sharing that I think are problems that aren't. I'm taking you through the diagnostic process of what's going on here on the 69 Charger. So don't jump to conclusions, and don't want to reach through the screen and choke me because I might be missing something that you know. Remember, you have perspective that I don't. I'm in the heat of battle. I'm in the heat of the moment right now, and I'm thinking on my feet, and I'm sharing it with you pretty transparently. So stick through it, and you'll find out where I land and what I came up with. That led me to believe there's something wrong in the distributor, so I pulled it apart, started looking, and lo and behold, strangest thing I've ever seen. I've never seen a distributor like this. There must be a short in the distributor. When I rotate this past it sparks once in a while, but when I start picking it up and down, I can make it spark. It was doing it here a minute ago. There we go. Look at that. We either got a shorted distributor or we have a pickup that's bad. I'm guessing it's shorted somewhere. So we're going to have to gut this distributor, or we're going to have to find another big block distributor because I don't think I have one. I'll have to look over there on the 440. Maybe I'll see if I can borrow one from somebody and just see if that's the issue. I bet my buddy John has one. I'll give him a call. I guess I need to borrow one from myself. I have one on the 440. So I don't know if it's good or not. That was a brand new Mopar Performance distributor in the box that we got used. I should have known there was something wrong with it. I got it for a really super deal. For Joe for this when he was putting this together. So I'm going to pop this distributor out, throw my distributor in here and off the 440, and we'll see what happens. But I'm going to bet, and then we'll pull this apart and see if we can figure out what's going on with it. Sometime maybe we'll do an episode on that. There's a short in this distributor. I don't think it's the pickup switch. I think it is the distributor itself. All right, let's make sure we've got this. Our slot is up, which means our distributor's pointing exactly that way. Pop that one out, and I think I disconnected the ignition. Guess we'll find out here in a second. Yep, I did. Okay. Usually when you unplug it, if you didn't, you'll hear the coil go ka-snap. There we go. Just like that. I'm not going to clean this other one up right now. Oh yeah, this was a remanufactured distributor. It isn't even It's not a Mopar Performance. It was in a Mopar Performance box, so I got ripped off. Not surprising. All right, let's get this one in there. Very good. And it was timed about right there. Get this hole down back in there. I know that on Scoops, when Brad was first putting it together, we had some distributor problems on that, and I gave him a distributor put on that out of another motor that I had bought when I was down there by him. So that obviously had a pickup coil problem too, but I've never had one that was working and then quit that I can think of. But I don't think it's the pickup. I think there's a short in it. So my guess is it was a cheap remanufactured distributor and something inside of it went haywire. So it'll be fun sometime at some point to tear that apart and see what's going on with it. All right. Well, hopefully that's all this is. Get our new rotor on there. Very good. Get our cap back on. Good thing I had one. Now there's one less part for the Challenger. Okay. 99% sure I could put the other coil back on, although it's an old crusty rusty, but I bought that one for Scoops, so I probably should keep it for Scoops. And one of the jobs I'm going to be doing here is eventually get the wiring on here sooner than later. This is all temporary stuff. It's all safe and grounded good and all that stuff, but let's see, everything's hooked up, coil's hooked up. Yep, battery's hooked up except for my ignition switch. Ground, let's get that hooked up here wherever that is. There it is. We got a push button in the dash right now, and this allows the push button to work so that the car will start. All right, let's see what happens. Well, maybe not. It won't start very good. It's not wireless. Okay then, what's going on here? See if we got Sparky Dark. Maybe I'm wrong, but it sure was acting funky. Coil, cauldron bubble. Alright, we got something else going on. I thought for sure it was that distributor. Well, what the heck? New box. Ballast is good. I tested it. That coil is an unknown. Probably should hook up the other coil, but I had it sparking. So let's pull that. I did put a rotor in it. Strange. We bump that around here. Make sure we got juice to everything. It should have fired right up. These things are as simple can be. Make sure we got voltage to the coil. Green wire's the voltage. 7 volts, which is right. I know this is a good box because it came right out of Scoops. It's grounded. So that's not the issue at all. I'm missing something obvious, I think. I got 7 volts to the coil, so I know the ignition's on. Maybe this one's no good. I never had this one in and used it before. I just assumed it was good. The reluctor's going past there. That should be sparking right now. It should be triggering it. Well, that'll be unique if I have 2 bad distributors. Small block distributor is different. If I can't throw one of those in, well, I could, but the rotation is backwards. Let me take a look at the other one here and see what's going on. This should be working right now, but check the air gap. at least by eyeball. Yeah, it's pretty wide, but it still should trigger, especially when I stuck the screwdriver in there. So I'm pushing and spinning this past the reluctor, nothing's happening, but I start picking this up. Look at the spark here. It's the same thing as that other distributor. So why is that? We've got a good ground. Yeah, we've got a good engine ground. Unless our ground has lost contact, but it wouldn't crank if it did. Thing's been running for 2 years like this. I've never seen that. I mean, it's why when I pick that up does it spark? But when I rotate this, it should spark. You should be able to take that distributor and go like this, and it'll spark. I got a head scratcher here. Here's the other distributor that I took out. Watch when I spin it. You can hear that thing sparking like crazy. But when I put it in the engine, it doesn't spark. Let's put it down there somewhere where it's closer. There we go. Look at the spark. You see that? That is bizarre. I've never seen anything like this before. So what is causing that? We know that the distributor is rotating. It didn't jump time because it would have spark. It's a stumper. And I just tested this distributor and she sparks like crazy. So I'm thinking differently now. You can hear it snapping. So it's not the distributor. It's got nothing to do with the distributor. Okay, gotta think now. So it's got something to do with when it cranks, it's not getting enough. Maybe the battery's just low. I've never seen one not spark. Figured out what's going on, and this is what I hate, is I got two bad distributors. So I went and found a small block distributor. Works good. But I can touch it against the motor. And you know, it's not going to fit in there obviously, but this one still works when it's grounded against the block. So I'm 99.9% sure we have two distributors that are shorted. So I'm going to call John and see if he happens to have one kicking around I can try, and also ask him if he's ever run into this. But I'm touching this one against the block and it's still working. So I'm guessing two distributors are shorted internally, and that's why they won't spark. Take them out, they spin, they spark, put them in, they're grounding out, and they don't spark. It's great to have friends. So we have a 400 distributor right here, right out of the 66 Belvedere. So you've seen that car on the channel many times. He said, hey, I know this one's good. Let's just throw it in there, and 100%, then you know it's a good distributor. So I'm 99% sure that's what the problem is. It's just weird to have two distributors that are shorted out inside. And he did suggest, which I'm sure, and I had forgotten this, that 440 and the 400 are different distributors. But from what I remember and what he said, they're quite a bit longer, and you can't even physically fit the 400 distributor down in or the 440 distributor in a 400. So I don't think that's the issue. I don't think we have the wrong distributor or anything, but it's just bizarre to have two distributors that are shorting internally. So we'll see. I don't know. If it's not that, I'm really stumped. I mean, we know the distributor's shorted. 100% we know that. We've proven that because it works when it's not touching the block. It doesn't work when it is. We know we've got a good ground from the motor to the battery. So we'll find out. Anyway, just wanted to give you my thoughts on the way back to the shop. Now we'll see what happens. But at least we get to follow a shaggin' wagon from the 80s. I also think somebody needs to learn how to torque down wheels. He's going to drop a wheel here any second. The front wheel on that thing is like wobbling like you cannot believe. I bet you all the lug nuts are loose and he's not got them tightened down and that thing's going to fall off. Let's just hope it doesn't hurt somebody. I can't believe it's bent. It is. I wish you could see it. It is. It is terrible. Absolutely terrible. No wonder he's driving like a grandma. Little adventure on the side here. I'm going to keep the camera going. I may not use all of this, but definitely going to keep the camera going in case it falls off. Another road. The driver's side front wheel is the lug nuts have to be falling off. Totally falling off. Well, that was not the plan for the day, but it's working and that's good. I think what happened was John's distributor did the same thing. And so that made me start looking down different avenues. Every time I would spin the distributor out, it would spark, put it back in the block, it wouldn't. And so I got thinking about the ignition box, and I went back and I switched back to the original ignition box.
And it worked.
The only thing I can figure is that I didn't get a good ground on the ignition box when I put the one out of Scoops in it, but Scoops quits on me when it gets really hot, and I thought it was the coil. I'm suspecting it was the box. So I think that box was failing, and putting it in here and not getting a good ground on it just wouldn't give it enough oomph. But I put the original one that was here back in. It's one of those silly things. It's 4 wires. It's not complicated, but I've never seen one that would spark like that with the distributor out and you put it in and it would stop. But that made me, my instincts kept telling me it's a ground issue, it's a ground issue, it's a ground issue, which made me go back and look at the box. The ground looked good, it tested good, but I switched it back to the other box and just like that, immediately the car fired up. So I would love to say a definitive conclusion. I put the coil back. I've got my distributor, which I want to have a little segue about distributors here in just a minute. I got my distributor in there out of the 440, which I don't think it's a 440 distributor, but anyway, that's the one that's in there. And so, yeah, there we go. One of those things. Crazy, crazy, crazy. I identified that motor as a 72, I believe it was, 440 out of a C body, and it's stamped 440 and the numbers and so forth. I got a feeling that the guy I got it from just stuck a big block distributor in the hole, and it wasn't for that motor. It happens to be for a 383-400. The 383-400 distributor is a little bit shorter, quite a bit shorter, because the 413 and up are all raised deck block, and the 363-361-400, seems like there's another one in there somewhere, are all short deck big blocks, and the distributor is a lot shorter. So it just happenstance that distributor, I got to double check that block at some point. I remember Joe and I dug the numbers on it. We found the 440 stamping on it, and we ID'd the VIN number off of it as a 73 C body, whatever, 440, blah, blah, blah. So Dave, that guy that we got the motor from, that Joe bought a ton of charger parts from also, must have just stuck a distributor in the hole to keep the dirt out, and it wasn't a 440 distributor. So I don't have a distributor for my 440 because its shaft is a bit longer and it wouldn't work in the short deck big block. So I knew that years ago. I had forgotten. John reminded me, and I'm like, well, why'd the one out of my 440 work? So either that's not a 440, which it is, or that's what Dave did, which I could see him doing just to keep the dirt out of it. So anyway, one of those frustrating things where you would love to have a definitive saying, absolutely, the pickup coil was shorted. At the end of the day, I've been working out here for hours on this and laughing at myself because it's 4 freaking wires. It's not that hard. But I would venture to guess that if I took the distributor that came that I got with a bunch of parts, or I don't know, it came in a Mopar Performance box. We assumed it was a Mopar distributor. I would bet if we put that back in there, this car wouldn't run again. It's running, so I'm not mucking with it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. My dad taught me that. He really did. So that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you learned something. I'm not sure that I did, but, it's running again. That's all that matters. So maybe next episode on this car will actually get done what I wanted to do, because this was not the way I planned on spending the day. But the car's running again, and it's all good. There's definitely going to be more coming on the 69 Charger. Got to do an oil change. I got rear shocks to put on it. We're going to do the actual wiring on the car instead of the temporary stuff that's in there now. Hopefully that's the last of that silliness. That was not the plan today, but, well, you got to see me scratch my head for a while. It acted completely like it was the box. I've had boxes fail before, but everything was really super hot. It's hot today. And the thing does tend to run a little bit warm. We've got to get a temperature gauge on it. So it may be just heat soaked that distributor. I don't know exactly. Strangest thing I've ever seen. But putting the other box in it, putting the original box back in it, took care of everything and it fired right up and ran. So hopefully the blue box that I have goes back in scoops and that runs. But I'm going to replace that box, because I bet you that box is what's causing scoops to quit when it gets really hot. It's quit on me twice. Once in the Burger King parking lot, and I can't remember where else it was. I was in the drive-thru, and it just all of a sudden started popping and farting. And so I thought it was the coil, but I bet you it's not. I bet it's that box. So that's going to do it for this one. We're over on the face thing. Instagramma, she loves us. We're over here on the you thing. So like, subscribe, share, hit the bell, all that stuff. You know what to do. We'll catch you on the next one.